Good morning, my friends. Good day to you, and Happy New Year to everyone out there. I didn't make a video on New Year's Day because I was too tied up and really just kind of feeling lazy, but this is my New Year's Day video, so I'm not sure really what I'm going to say on it. I just started the camera and thought, I just want to make a video and say, hey, what's up to everybody, and to bring in the new year with hopefully some good vibes, I think I know a lot of people have different opinions about last year. I'm sure some people had a great year and some people had a crappy year, and most people are probably somewhere in between. If the bullshit in politics didn't get people riled up, then perhaps it was a family issue or maybe something that happened financially. The world is it's a crazy place out there, and finding our place, finding somewhere that we can fit in, a little niche where we can shine and do our thing, feel like we're productive and part of the world, and still enjoy our family and friends and ourselves without getting too tied up in the bullshit on the side. I'll tell you, one of my I don't make New Year's resolutions because I find them to be just too mechanistic in action. When I think of a specific thing that I want to accomplish, such as this amount of money or this amount of happiness, or get this done and get organized in this way, rather than giving specifics, I say that in the new year I want to be more understanding. I want to be more continually be better able to cope with situations. When something comes my way that's that brings me a rough time, I've learned over the years to use that alchemy, the mental alchemy, to move forward and to get out of it. And it's a matter of looking at the situation from all sides and being fair about it and not trying to escape or hide from any of our problems. That way we can overcome them and move forward. And so, in other words, my New Year's resolution is just to be better, to improve myself piece by piece every year. In my subjective opinion of what that is, still realizing that I'm not trying to achieve some particular status or monetary gain. Really, I just want myself and those around me to be happy and enjoy life, And having a YouTube channel for so many years now and making videos about everything, I can look back to when I first started and think about how I reacted when people would say, troll me or, try to pick at me and find, I might make a video, unloading my deepest thoughts, and then the only thing a person could have to say is something about the particular clothes I'm wearing, or there's too much wind, or the camera angle's not right. It just cracks me up. In fact, for example, I had a Kratom Q&A a while back, and somebody just left a comment the other day that said please, in capitals, get your questions together before making a video, then thank you in caps. And I know that a person means it well, but the image people get when you go to a YouTube channel, when a lot of people click on a video and it's not the highest quality or it's not the way they want it, many people assume that everyone who's doing YouTube is doing it for the money, and that if you don't do things the way people like, well, then they're not going to watch you and you won't get your money. I'm very grateful that I don't give a shit about that. I don't use AdSense. I don't put ads on my videos because I don't want to have to cater to the corporations in order to say what I want on my channel. Now, I respect it. If people want to make a living off YouTube, there's a lot of people who make phenomenally edited videos and have done a lot of research, and I think that it's fine if a person wants to make an income. In fact, I would love to make my income off of YouTube. I would love to be able to make videos, and I have a Patreon account, and thank you to my patrons at this point. I don't mention it often, but I always feel like, if you're going to have something of value, if you want to rather get paid for what you do, you have to make something of value. So just a dude talking in his basement about his day every day, that's not worthy of paying someone, to watch that. But that's my opinion, Some people love just personal vlogs, but I'd love to get deeper into subjects and really tear things apart and give all the details of them if I had the time to do the research on the side and make the videos and edit the videos. But right now it's just for fun, like it's always been. And I'm actually glad that it's still that way, because every time I try to move forward and I say, what if I did have a bunch of patrons? What if all of a sudden people were expecting me to produce videos of a certain caliber or whatnot? I could do that, but I don't want to. I want to make videos that are just about life in general. Because all of us go through the same shit. We all go through and have the same similar patterns in our lives with, you know, happiness and grief and, you know, new exciting things and nostalgia and then, you know, losing, gaining, all these different archetypes that we fit into, like these patterns that define us as heroes and villains. You know, it's entertaining, at the very least, to really look at humanity and say, wait a minute, you're all just a bunch of hairless apes wearing clothing and trying to look status-ridden, you know, so we can fit into a group. All of us are in the same fight together. We're all in this, not a fight, we're all in the same experience. We're all along for the ride. So, anyhow, I hope you all plan on having a great New Year, and I hope everyone had a good holiday. What I wanted to ask in this video, for any of you, I'm thinking about expanding my channel over the year to maybe actually promote my Patreon account more, as reluctant as I am, in order to have the financial means to be able to produce more videos over a period of time. It's been 7 years since I started YouTube, so, you know, it's not like I just started out and I'm expecting to make, you know, some magic change overnight. But my question to you is, as viewers, as people who watch my channel, I'm really curious to know what you would like to see more of. I know I don't really ask that, because generally I talk about what's on my mind. So what I'm asking is not specifically what subjects do you want to hear more about, but rather, what type of videos do you enjoy the most? You know, there's rambling videos, there's very specific videos. I'm still working on this book I'm writing about the opioid epidemic and addiction in American history, which I've been working on for a while, and I kind of set on the back burner because I don't have the time. But I'm hoping that in the future I'll be able to finish this and maybe publish a book, and maybe my dream, as far as I've had, you know, at least in the last dozen years or so, was to become either a speaker, a writer, or a philosopher that can actually make an income off of thinking, off of processing ideas. It's a very difficult thing to do. Philosophers don't get paid well unless they teach philosophy. That's pretty much what it is. But the thing is that a philosopher doesn't want to get paid. They want to just be able to live. So I'm wrapped up in a lot of different issues. You know, I've got kids to feed and I have a family, so I have to make a living. I can't wander off and be a monk. But I also don't want to do that. I don't want to escape the Western way of life to, you know, go to some Eastern mysticism and say, well, I'm not part of society. I want to be able to sit here behind the camera and talk about enduring issues that we all face as humans, and mostly issues that we faced in the West, in America, because that's where I live and that's, you know, the experience that I have. But to be able to discuss issues that are important to people on a way that's not biased and screaming at the other side, you know, I guess I'm far more liberal than conservative in some ways, but maybe more conservative than liberal in others, but I don't fit either, you know, political view. So when you sit on the fence on things, you know, people assume you're either with us or against us, and that's not just politics. This happens with religion all the time, where a person says, hey, you're either an atheist or you're religious, you can't sit somewhere in between, you know. What it comes down to is people have to define each other. We have to define each other and judge each other and fit each other into these categories so we can feel comfortable with whether or not we share the values with people. And I think that that can be useful in some ways, you know, to protect us, but it's also kind of a leftover residual genetic trait of protecting our own and community. And xenophobia seems to be something that's kind of programmed into us at birth. I should say programmed into us by our parents and schooling. I guess maybe I can't say that it's at birth. I would say that we have a natural tendency to avoid things that may threaten us. And so when we start seeing people as threatening because they're wearing a turban on their head, or seeing a person as threatening because they have black skin, or seeing a person as threatening merely because they're just poor or just rich or live in the bad part of town, you know, we're doing no justice to the fact that each individual is very different, vastly different. And so if there's any message that I really would like to convey, it's to give people a chance. You know, we have to protect ourselves. Believe me, I've been ripped off, I've been lied to, and you know, from good friends, I've had some bad things happen, but I forgave and I got over it. Because the only one that's going to suffer inside when we're opposed to other people and when we're angry at the world is us. We are the ones who pay the price for our own frustration and anger and hostility. To take it to the opposite end, you cannot abandon your voice. You cannot abandon your anger. You cannot abandon your sadness or frustration. You can put it on the back burner and say, this isn't worth being frustrated about. But you have to be able to have that when you need it. In other words, a person could be completely peaceful and say, I would never raise a hand to anyone. And the minute you're walking down a back street and someone threatens you, your only choice is to either defend yourself or to get your ass kicked and your wallet taken, whatever it might be. Sometimes we do have to protect ourselves, but not just physically, mentally. So if someone attacks you and they're calling you names, you can walk away from that, and that's usually the bigger thing to do. But if it's a person who's doing it to others, then it's really important that we speak up when we can. When we be little heroes in our world, maybe not just to protect ourselves, but for other people who can't. You know, I'm a pretty outspoken guy. When I went on New Year's Eve, I went to this event down in it was called Renew. And it was kind of like, they had several DJs and, you know, fire spinning on stage and, you know, all these different little events and like a tea lounge. And it was kind of an alternative type event. There's this one table of people, they just looked out of place to me, personally. They looked like they were dressed nice. The guy had kind of a suit on. Everybody else is dressed in, whatever, wolf hats and fancy, shiny clothes. And, you know, it's obviously a different crowd. The guy had one of the, kind of a suit with his white shirt, like, opened down, you know, tough guy kind of guy. And he's sitting there with his friend and two other ladies, their wives. And the girls get up, and his friend gets up, they all go down to dance. And the guy's sitting there by himself, the only guy at a table with 4 chairs. And there's only like 4 tables in the whole place, and they're overlooking, you know, the audience and the dance floor from upstairs. So this girl comes over and she sits down in the chair, and this guy just turns and he's like, "That's my wife's seat." And she goes, "Oh, I'm just going to sit here just for a minute," you know, and he just goes, and just literally stares at her that way for like 2 whole minutes. I mean, at first I was looking over like just kind of laughing, and then I leaned over and I said to her, I was like, "Oh, don't worry, you can sit there." And I was like, I told the guy, I was like, "Are you staring her down because she's sitting in a seat?" And I was like, "You realize that, you know, she'll get up and when your wife gets back, you know." This guy was so stuck and so out of his element. The girl didn't need me to defend her. She was already having a good time and just like, "Whatever, buddy." But the dude just looks at me and he just looks at her and looks at me and looks at her. Doesn't say a word. He's completely confronted, out of his element. He's trying to be an asshole and vibe somebody, a woman, out of her seat because it's his wife's seat. And so I was at the table next to them with my wife, and I just kept laughing and looking over, and I could tell the guy was just like, you know, he didn't know what to do. He was out of his element. The reason I brought that up is because that's what I mean about helping other people. When you see somebody who's being a jerk to someone, especially at an event like that, if you're the kind of person who is outspoken, and to me it's not about, I would never go out and challenge a guy to a fight. I would never say, you know, start calling him names or screaming at him. All I like to do is plant that seed that, "Hey dude, you're an asshole." And it's funny because when his wife got back, she was like, "Oh, what happened?" And I looked over and I said, "Your husband's kind of an asshole." She goes, "Oh, what did he do?" You know, she already had this response that said she's used to that. And a lot of people are used to people being that way. For me, every asshole out there deserves to be confronted. We should not have to put up with people who have sour attitudes towards others, and people who can't even just be rational and reasonable or just apologize, you know. We deserve better. We deserve to be treated better by each other. And I understand that my first thought after that incident was to look at the guy, and I actually felt sorry for him. Like, that was my initial response to the way I confronted him, was that, and he probably would have kicked my ass. The dude was, you know, kind of stocky, but I'm not a fighter. I wasn't trying to fight. I was laughing the whole time. And he just couldn't get it. He couldn't get over that and like move past it and laugh at himself. Part of it is being able to laugh at ourselves, but also to realize that the guy probably grew up, maybe he had a fucked up upbringing. Maybe his parents were assholes. You know, maybe he never had any friends. Maybe he's just so low in his, his ego plane, that he's just looking for any way to make himself feel better. And that's why I feel bad for people, because even the biggest jerks out there, they do deserve to be confronted, but they also are people, and they're also people who maybe had some hard times in their lives. So giving people a little bit of space and giving them time to realize that how they are isn't the right way, it's much better than just going out and confronting and trolling and screaming at people online for their opinions or in person. And that we want to carry a message of, understanding to one another. I mean, our lives here, our time here is really so short in the big picture, and we're so wrapped up with our details of progress and moving forward that we forget to just stand still and be who we are and be confident with who we are. And it's hard to have the right self-esteem in this world. Sometimes we take it the opposite direction, and it becomes ego that's overcompensating for a true self-esteem. A person who's talking tough, saying, I know all the answers. The kind of people who say, only I can give you the truth. Only I know what's going on. Only I understand the world. And you just, whatever, buddy. So, I guess we're all in this together, and I hope you all have a wonderful New Year, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace, love, and all that shit, and I'll talk to you on the flip side.